Salute to all the Patreon members. I want to thank you guys for your support. Really means a lot to me. Uh, you guys could do me a favor, check out the link in the description box below for the Patreon page. That'd be great. Some more content on there for everyone, and salute to everybody that has been supporting the content on the Patreon page. All right. So the other news, for those that know where I'm at, I will be here until Saturday. So I'll be here pretty much for the next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 days. All right, salute to J Bones. So I'm stuck up here for a little while, but it's cool. Um, I have my plans for my destination on Patreon. So you guys don't want to miss that. Check that out. um, I can't give you guys a visual because I don't have my computer with me. I won't be anywhere near my computer until Sunday or early Monday morning. All right, so I'm sorry, but I can't give you guys a visual. All right. What I want to talk about is this divorce, this new divorce law in China. Salute to J Bones for the $1.99 super sticker. Thank you very much. What I want to talk about is this new divorce law that's in China. China, they have this thing where, for those that don't know, I used to live in China not that long. I'm not a Chinese expert. I was only there for about a year, so I can't give you guys the ins and outs of China. All right, it was an unforgettable experience. Uh, not in the most positive way. All right, but I did used to live in Beijing, China. I used to live in Shangdi, excuse me. That's how you pronounce it. For those that don't know, if you know anything about Beijing, Shangdi is one station away from Wadalco. Okay, Wadalco is like the college station area. Okay, a lot of college kids are in Wadalco. All right, they got a couple clubs there. They got the Woo Club and the Voo Club. They got that little mall there. They got a bunch of KTVs, the universities around in that area. One station away north, that's Shangdi. And that's pretty much where they had the best dumplings and noodles I ever had at that mall, a Wu Tsai Chun mall. And there was a Walmart in that mall also. But for those that don't know, my name is Splash Wave Beats. I've either been living or traveling abroad for the last 16 years. Hell, I'm out the country right now as we speak. Okay. So with my limited little 1 year experience of living in China, I can give my opinion of what I think about this new law. So this new law prevents women from actually obtaining property and some of the assets from men that they divorce. Now, if you don't know, um, the divorce rate in China is very, very high. In certain towns and cities over there in China, certain provinces, the divorce rate is actually higher than many countries in the West. All right. They even saw a surge in divorces throughout the pandemic in 2020. Um, Guys who pretty much, like the rate of production as far as their work, being able to work, losing their jobs, that occurred during the pandemic in China. Not everybody was able to actually work from home, especially if it's labor, right? So guys whose jobs were on the line or in jeopardy during the pandemic, women, they divorced these men. All right. A lot of women filed for divorce during the pandemic in China, where it's like in America, women were getting married. All right. So in the West, women were getting married. In the East, women were getting divorced. Um, what contributes to a lot of this? The rate of divorce, um, the rate at which women don't want to get married. Women don't want to be married, or they put a lot of really hard negative pressure on men to get married. Like it's a very um disrespectful shaming tactic that they do. All right. A lot of times guys say, well, the West has made its way to China and this is that and the third. No. I've said this many times. If you've actually really traveled and lived in other countries, the West didn't make its way to Asia. Asia made its way to the West. All right. Now you could say, Splash, how is that possible? Um, Asians, they get married at a much higher rate. Well, I'm talking about China here. If you look it up, China, there's 35 million more men than women. Okay. So women have millions and millions of more options than men. Okay. They understand scarcity. They understand, excuse me, that there's a lack of supply. There's a limited supply of them. A lot of men, a lot of people, I'm not saying they're not proud to be Chinese, but they just don't want to be in China. All right. With the cost of living, um, it's like every which way they turn, they have to pay, a lot of money, a lot of taxes, or they're locked in to certain deals if they want their children to be in school, or if they want the benefits from the government, locked into a home, especially in a major city. Some of these major cities, Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, very, very expensive to live in these cities. But, in their hometowns, like the example I showed you a couple weeks ago, homes over there are very, very cheap, right? So you see the housing market is like from one extreme to the next when you go from a major city to a small town, but the small town is like it's still like 2 million people that live there. It's still nice, laid back, right? Um, in many cases, a lot of women, especially in the big city, they don't really want to get married. Um, a lot of them don't want to get married. A lot of them they want to get with foreigners, right? A lot of them they put pressure, a lot of pressure on their men to the shaming tactic that they put on their men for their expected level of expectation. A lot of this it has to do with the media that's in their own country. Um, y'all don't understand one of the biggest fantasies that you see in Chinese dramas is like a woman going through hardships with her boyfriend or her husband, right? And some CEO of a company pulling up in that, that black on black, $250,000 car with a driver opening his door to let him out with an umbrella standing, you know, over him, protecting him with an umbrella. That's a lot of women's fantasies. If you look at like Chinese dramas, there's a lot of women that like they watch that shit. Well, I just stuck a nail in the coffin of marriage. All right. But I mean, you should be at the point now where it's like not getting married shouldn't be no big deal. I know you want somebody for yourself, for life, that level of companionship. But hey, women have said it, and I'm gonna say it. Them days are gone. Women are totally different now. But a lot of Chinese women, they fantasize about that, and it's shown, it's depicted. That is depicted on television, on streaming shows over in China. They have their own media. They don't have access to outside influence without the use of a VPN, a virtual protection network that would allow them to watch it. So here's the thing, like, they tell you, they try to show you that everything is functional and um women are just cooperative over there, and it's not. It's not. I lived there. I remember being on the train. Men were carrying women's purses. Uh, Women were punking a lot of men on the train, punking men out in public, punking men at the Starbucks. Right? Uh, it, I couldn't understand them because they were speaking Chinese, but you would see a woman screaming at a man, and then he would just get on his knees and beg for the woman's forgiveness, kiss her feet, right? Beg for her, beg for, and 9 times out of 10, he probably never had sex with her, right? He might have said something that offended her. It wasn't even to be offensive, but it's kind of like, well, I got millions of options, including foreign men. What do I need you for? See, a lot of men in China, they want to get out of that hellhole, and they don't really have as many options as you. The only options I would see that most Chinese men have, if other races of women who immigrate over there are interested in the local men, right? If they're even interested in the local men, um, really the only other options they have are African women. And you know how a lot of these men, especially over in the East, feel about African women. That's kind of a stretch. That's like a real big act of desperation. But you see it though. You trying to get access to the land and the resources over in that land so that you can import, export, and start up your own business. Um, that's pretty much the only options that they have, and maybe certain Caribbean countries. But other than that, like, they don't really have that many options. And the women know that, they are pretty much their only option. And you would bring shame upon the family if you were to go to Africa and find you one of them big booty village women over there, the breast hanging down to the stomach. Not to say all of them, but I'm talking about firm, fine, big booty over there in Africa. Like, your family would disown you. Like, that'll be the last time you hear from your family. If you a Chinese man trying to do that. All right. But don't think the West rubbed off or anything in China because they have their own media. They don't have access to outside media like that. This is their own doing. They're imploding on themselves. All right. Now more jobs than ever are being automated, which is pushing a lot of people from the major cities back over to their home country. And you know, so yeah, it's still going to be more affordable living, but it's a risk, right? Look what men have to do just to get with women over there. The women that there's not enough to go around for. You have a woman that you're in a relationship with, you're gonna be in a relationship with her for years unless you kind of that dude and she like you. If you just an average regular guy, you're gonna be in a relationship with a woman for years at her beck and call. Picking her up every. You have to have a car, even though in Asia it's practical to not have. It's not really practical to have a vehicle like that. Some women, it's like you have to have a car. You have to take them to work. You have to pick them up on time. Doesn't matter what your schedule is. You have to take them shopping. You have to, take them to their doctor's appointment, right? You have to. take them out to eat. You have to take them wherever it is that they want to go to. If that's too much for you, then you not in a relationship with her. And that's not all women. Some women, they'll settle for a guy who has a train pass and a bus pass, right? Which most people have. But there's some women who are like that. There's a lot of women out there like that. Um, there's a lot of women that drag men through these relationships and for years never had sex with them. Men, eventually they kind of use these women as the baby makers, right? They get into these marriages with them after being in some relationship with them for 5, 6, 7 years, no sex, right? Doing everything that she asks him to do, right? Um, Picking her up whenever she wanted to be picked up, spent all the money he could, got her all the new iPhones that came out, and then even paid a dowry, right? You ain't seen simping until you've been to China. I remember there was one guy he proposed to, I guess, his girlfriend by buying her a Lamborghini or whatever. I think it was like an orange Lamborghini, and she rejected him. I think he tried to destroy the Lamborghini. He was so mad, and there's been cases of proposals where a guy done bought like dozens of iPhones for her, and she rejected him, and then he destroys the iPhones. You should look at failed Chinese proposals online. Look that up. Some of the lengths they go to uh to propose to some of these women, and then they experience rejection. All right. You paying for a dowry, you doing all this, and what you were going through in your dating stage, now you're going through it even worse in the marriage stage. Women are very fickle. There's not a lot of women to go around over there, right? So China, they know how the local women, how Chinese women treat Chinese men, right? So when you see some of these men getting harassed, like foreign men getting harassed, walking around with a beautiful Chinese woman, like I showed you a couple of weeks ago, that brother walking around with that cute Chinese woman over in China getting harassed and attacked. Um, that's because the reason why they do that, that's because it's already not enough women to go around for Chinese men, and Chinese men, they go through hell and high water, you know, just to get a kiss from some of these women in their country, just to have sex with some of these women. And they know that, hey, I got to be on my best behavior for years in order to just have sex with this woman. Not all, but a lot. And then on top of that, you with one of our most attractive women, they don't like that either. But the other things that I named off, it adds a lot of sauce to it. So they really don't like that. It's like there's plenty of men to go around, and you with him. On top of that, somebody black, both of y'all will get harassed. Remember, they was beating up that girl in that video, that live stream that I showed you a few weeks ago. They was beating up that girl. They said some things to the brother, but it got physical with the girl, right? Because they know what they go through from their own women. I saw a video where they were talking about this. There was an example of a woman who she was in a relationship. And here's something else I want to tell you about also. There's a lot of women in China, they compare their lives to like their coworkers or their friends. They got friends with guys that are making a little bit more than their guy, or they're working with other women, right, whose husbands or whatever make more than their husband. So they compare their lives to them, and then they start giving their own boyfriend or husband hell when they get back home. Like, you need to make more fucking money because my friends, they have husbands that are making like 3 times more than you. And I don't want to live in this shitty apartment anymore. I don't want to live here. I want a better lifestyle. This, that, and the third. I saw a video of this, and the guy was just like mouth wide open, didn't know what to do. Heartbroken behind that. So what happened was, um, some of the guys with money, there was a dude with money in China, you know, everything, or in many cases, a lot of what moves a lot of people in China is money, right? The guys with money, they literally can clean up a lot of these women in China, right? See, the average man, he might be a virgin to his 20s, 30s, 40s, and have been in multiple relationships, right? But some of these guys, 6-figure earners, 7-figure earners, these guys with money, somewhat attractive over there in China, they can literally clean up a lot of these women and take a lot of guys' wives from the husbands. You understand? I told you guys before how a couple of wives over in China was like sneak trying to get with me because their husbands just wasn't making that much money. I saw this in Taiwan also, right? This language center owner who wasn't that bad looking. I mean, she used to invite me over to her house all the time, give me rides, and ask me about my dating life and this, that, and the third. It was a little bit more than just having conversation. Man, her husband worked as, I think he was like a coal miner or something like that. He would be gone for, weeks, month at a time or whatever. Like he'd be gone quite a bit. She'd be lonely, and he wasn't the main bread earner in the family like that. Then when he come back. I hate to put it this way because that doesn't mean anything in America, but over in Asia it does. He come back dark skinned, you know, smelling like work, right? Dirty, and she kind of settled for him, but she had wandering eyes. You know, um, just not the look that a lot of women go for in Asia. They want somebody who works in an office that's boss status, light skin, right? Not working with his hands, smelling like oil, smelling like coal, uh, getting dirty, right? They don't like that. Even if you are making good money, they don't care. So you smell like work to them, and then you dark and you're not white. You don't have that white skin that they desire for. So it's like a lot of these women, they have wandering eyes in these relationships. A lot of these rich guys, they can literally clean up a lot of guys' wives and girlfriends. And then once the desire is over, once the novelty wears off, they throw them right back where they came from, right? They give them right back to the streets. So in this example, this video that I saw, this woman, she was screaming at her husband, talking about I want a better lifestyle, yada, yada, yada. So then she separated from her husband, left him for some boss type CEO dude who kind of had a thing for her, hit it for like a couple weeks, a couple months. And then he was just like, look, all right, I'm done. The novelty wore off. I want a better bitch. Now I want a new chick. He dropped her, cut her off. So after that, like she wanted to come back home to her husband where, her old lifestyle, she wanted her old life back. And the husband mentally, he just moved on already. He didn't move on with another woman. He just mentally charged it to the game. So she was right back out there, like with her family's at her family's house, her mom and dad's house. Right, she had nowhere to go, and you see this quite often over there. When I was living in China, you got these nice buildings, right? Even as nice as some of these buildings are, as thick as some of the walls are, you can still hear people, especially the women, just screaming on at their husbands walking down the hallway or up right above you or right below you, right? And um, I didn't know what they were saying. I could only imagine like a woman screaming at her husband and him sounding like, he's trying to defend himself or whatever. You could only imagine what it is that they're talking about. At the end of the day, it's women giving their men in their life hell, right? Even just to get to that stage of being with them. So you put yourself in a very vulnerable position when the process of even getting into a relationship or in a marriage is being at my beck and call for years. You didn't have sex with her until like year 4, year 5 into the relationship. You're setting a very, very, very bad precedent doing that. And even if y'all do get married, look how the marriage is gonna go, right? So that's why, like, prostitution and stuff like that is just very heavy and almost openly acceptable in many places in Asia, right? But when you have a nation of fickle women, there's not enough women to go around for men. And the one child policy that lasted from 1979 to 2015. And even after you ended the one child policy, it's just like people don't really care anymore because, certain cities in China is just unlivable, right? You already set a very bad precedent, one child policy, and then most people they want a boy, and now we've created too many boys and not enough women, and look how the women are acting, very stuck up, arrogant, egotistical, spoiled, bratty. You got grown adult bratty women that you deal with. Tell tell an adult Chinese woman no in China. Oh my God. Why? Like, you have to do, I'm like, I don't have to do a damn thing. But it's like they're not used to being talked to that way, especially by a man. Because it's like, motherfucker, do you know how many millions of men I could get with that are waiting to get with me that I could get with? Right. See, at best, they could only get with somebody else who is like on the same level as the man that they're with. And then on top of that, you keep moving on like that, you're gonna price yourself out the game at 25 years old. And most people, they don't when they go out, they don't really like meeting each other in public places like how we do in America. Like we could meet somebody we like anywhere. Them it's kind of like a process in school, families, neighborhood that you grew up in. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of it's like a certain way people meet each other. Couples get with each other in places like China. But let me tell you, like a man with money could take your wife, could take your girl. Hell, we've seen, and well, it's not on YouTube anymore, but I did a broadcast years ago where a white guy tested that theory in Terminal 21 Mall in Bangkok, Thailand, SO Station. Is it Terminal 21 or Terminal 23? You know what I'm talking about, that mall there. So he went inside the mall with a GoPro on his hat and pretty much took everybody's girlfriend and wife that was in that mall. And the the boyfriends didn't do anything. The boyfriends just sat there and was like smacking themselves like, damn, like and it was almost like the men did nothing. The men didn't check the man. The men didn't try to push the man off like, hey, knock it the fuck off and get away from my woman. Like men weren't doing that in Thailand when he did that, which was a very, very bad look. The men were like disappointed in themselves, like, damn, I'm not good enough for my woman. And then it's kind of like if you told the white dude to get the fuck away, I'm assuming it would probably show a certain level of jealousy. And some people like showing jealousy in certain cultures in Asia, it's looked down upon. Like if you show that you're jealous, then it's like, yeah, that's not cool, right? You don't really show jealousy in certain cultures in Asia. You just like, I wouldn't say try to get even. It's like you're just supposed to play it cool. But in playing it cool, if it really did bother you, you could just pay that money to go get yourself a woman of the night, right? Because like I said, it's damn near openly acceptable. It's just that woman there is for you. But you know, somebody else is entertaining, especially a white dude, and they mind it's kind of like, damn, this is a white dude. I'm not really, you know, this is the ultimate man right here. That's how they look at it in their culture. So if the ultimate man wants your woman's phone number, then she's gonna give it to him, right? Um, so and you know, people know about this, the government knows about this. So what they did was just like, hey, look, these divorce rates in certain provinces, certain cities are just way worse than the West. Man, you can't get his property, right? If this man spent a dowry and he went through years of being at your beck and call, and this is how you're treating him, and you shitting on him this way, and then you want to divorce him because you think something better is coming along, or that person at your boss, like your boss, is finally it's your turn at the workplace, right? He done already turned out like five other women, and now it's your turn, and you really think you the one, right? That boss type CEO pulled up in a Maybach Benz, and he's telling your ass to get in, and you think, okay, damn, I don't need my husband no more, right? You filed divorce. No, you're not. We know what men go through. That's how they look. That's how I'm thinking they're looking at it. We know what men go through to get married to y'all over here. We know what type of men y'all pick. We know what y'all put them through during a dating stage. We know that there's more men than women out here. No. And on top of that, like the way, like the pulse of the nation right now is like most people don't want to get married. Like they've done studies all around China and different countries in Asia, and most women, they don't want to have kids and get married. So here's the thing: it's will this push women away even more? You know, I'm pretty sure other laws are coming down the pipeline where it's more beneficial for women to get in a marriage, but don't expect for you to get anything like you just got this Trump card now because something shinier is waiting for you outside, right? If you leave your husband, you're getting nothing, right? If you think you're going to treat him in the dating stage like this and then still continue it on in a marriage and then try to leave and take everything, no. All right. Stay in your marriage, be loyal, be nice, be kind to your significant other and make it work for you and the children. There's a lot of single mothers out there in China that y'all don't know about. It's a lot. Y'all don't understand what the dating scene is like in China. It's way, way worse than America. It's way worse than Canada. Right now, y'all can go out if y'all wanted to. Y'all could go out there in America and have sex. Find you a woman. That ain't the hard part. It might not be the best woman of quality, but you could bend over, some you know, you could bend over a light skinned chick tonight if you wanted to. Right? You could bend over a sister tonight if you wanted to. You could bend over a Hispanic woman right now tonight if you wanted to. You could have a woman in your bedroom right now if you wanted to. She may or may not have kids, right? But now we're on something totally different where we want women, better women of quality that is going to treat us like human beings. That's what we want, right? And we're not settling for anything else. And if we don't get that, then we're just going to book our flights. And hey, the quality might not be just as better. At least this woman over here in this other country is sexier. And I don't like, I could hit it tonight and not have to deal with her ass anymore. Right? I don't have to deal with her no more. I don't have to get into some commitment with her and then have children with her only for her to ruin my life later on. I don't have to go through that if I book this flight and do that. I could have my time and act like she never even existed, like we never met. I could move on and get with another one easily, right? That's kind of our stance with this. See, Chinese men, they can't do that. They pretty much have to deal with their own women. And look how their own women is treating them. Well, y'all better do y'all research and look it up and see what Chinese men go through in the dating stage with their own women in China. It is insane. Way worse. Brothers, man, we meet something we like tonight. We find something we fucking within the first couple of days, within the first week. Chinese men, nah, not all of them. A lot of them, it's gonna take a couple of years. It's gonna take a couple of years. And she might be sleeping and entertaining other men while she's entertaining you. She might be telling you, like, nah, I'm not ready for sex, this, that, and the third, and she getting dug out in the dugout. Getting 2, 3 abortions. Abortions are very, very high in China. Abortions, shit. You think it's bad in America? It's shit. Abortions are insane in China. I know surrogacy and freezing your eggs, that's illegal in China. But abortions, no. No. So, um, look here, man. I'm not saying be proud and appreciative for what you have now because it shouldn't be like this nowhere across the board, anywhere. But I think this rule or whatever that you see in China is only fair, and it should be implemented in America. Where no, if but see America, it's a little bit different, right? Over in China, other Asian countries, they're raised off of culture and tradition, right? They're raised off of culture, tradition, family, and strengthening the numbers and raising better men and women for the future. Um, it's not like that in America. America is just like it's capitalism, right? So Divorce court, child support court, that makes money every single year. $51 billion every single year. The prison industrial system, that makes a lot of money every single year. Locking up men who are behind on their child support. All right. So, and then what comes with being single, where our tax dollars go to. And then, single women, even if they got kids, instead of dressing like, covering up like, a mother wearing uh just bland mother clothing, they hot girling it up, right? So the clothing and accessory industries, they make a lot of money, right? The nail tech industry, they make a lot of money. Makeup industry, they make a lot of money. These hair salons, they're making a lot of money. Weave industry is making a lot of money. Red bottom industry making a lot of money. It's like you're spending money constantly to look like a catch. Right? You're not sitting your ass down like how most women do when they have a husband and try to save and not try to, look presentable, but not try to attract multiple men in public on purpose. Right? Going out here spending money, getting BBLs, lip injections, breast implants, all these other weird operations, that fuels those industries when you're single. Mommy makeover. So I wish they would bring this over to America. I hope they do. I don't see it happening because of capitalism, but if they do, hey, then that means like things are going in a good direction. Now, I'm thinking probably robots and technology will change the game. But who knows? Who knows? Now, obviously, if there's abuse there, then I don't think that women shouldn't leave without anything. But let me tell you, the level of abuse, physical abuse in a relationship, the numbers are far lower than what women make it out to be. Right? Those numbers are far much lower. And if it takes abuse for a man to have to cough up half his assets and his property to give to women, um, in a divorce, in a case like that, then women will start making up a whole bunch of lies. So at the end of the day, man, it's just best not to get married. Yeah, it's just best not to get married. Women will make up lies to try to get your assets. There's gonna be an increase in that. All right. So I'm gonna end it right here. You guys be safe. I'll probably do another live stream on Thursday. So Thursday and Friday, we're gonna do a live stream. I'm over the mount. You guys take care. Check me out on Patreon. I'm over the mount. Peace.